The gun pressed harder against Amara's temple, cold metal biting into her skin. Her hands trembled as she stared at the marriage contract, spread across the mahogany desk, the elegant Korean characters blurring through her tears. "Sign it," the man in the black suit growled, "or we visit your family in Lagos tomorrow." Amara's fingers wrapped around the pen. 26 years old, a translator living in Seoul, and this was how her life would end. Not with a bullet, but with a signature that would chain her to a monster she'd never met. Her father's gambling debt, $500,000 borrowed from the wrong people, had become her burden. The Beck Syndicate didn't forgive debt. They collected it in cash or in flesh. "My boss is a generous man," the lawyer said, adjusting his glasses. 2 years as his wife. Play your role. After that, you walk away free, and your family's debt disappears. Refuse, and, well, accidents happen." "What kind of man forces a woman to marry him?" Amara whispered. The lawyer smiled, cold and thin. "The kind of man who always gets what he wants. The wedding is tomorrow at noon. He prefers to meet his brides at the altar. More dramatic that way." Amara's hand shook so violently she could barely write her name. But she did. Because the alternative was her mother's screams, her brother's blood, her father's corpse. The pen scratched across paper, sealing her fate. "Excellent choice, Miss Okonkwo," the lawyer said, snapping the folder shut. "A car will collect you at 10. Wear white. He insists on tradition." That night, Amara sat in her tiny apartment, staring at the single photograph they'd given her. The man's face was deliberately shadowed, showing only a sharp jawline and expensive suit. Mr. Beck, Korea's most feared crime lord, a man who controlled half of Seoul's underground from the shadows. And tomorrow, he would own her too. She pulled out her old photo album, flipping to her exchange student days 9 years ago. Seoul International High School. She'd been 17, full of dreams, the first in her family to study abroad. Those dreams had died in that school, crushed under the heel of people who'd made her life hell. One person in particular. Amara slammed the album shut. That was the past. Tomorrow she'd face a different kind of nightmare. The black Mercedes arrived exactly at 10. Amara climbed in wearing a simple white dress she'd bought at a discount store, her natural hair pulled back, no makeup to hide the exhaustion in her eyes. She looked like a woman going to her funeral, not her wedding. The car wound through Seoul's streets, leaving the familiar behind, climbing into the hills where the wealthy hid their secrets. They arrived at a private estate, walls so high she couldn't see the sky, guards everywhere, men with guns and cold eyes. Inside, the chapel was small and empty. No guests, no family. Just an elderly priest who wouldn't meet her eyes, and 2 witnesses she'd never seen before. The lawyer from yesterday stood near the altar checking his watch. "He'll be here momentarily," he said. "Remember, Miss Okonkwo. Smile. He values obedience." Amara's stomach churned. She gripped the cheap bouquet they'd given her so hard the stems snapped. This was insane. This was wrong. But what choice did she have? Run, and they'd kill everyone she loved. Stay, and maybe, just maybe, she'd survive 2 years. Footsteps echoed behind her, heavy, confident, the kind of walk that belonged to a man who'd never been told no. "He's here," the lawyer whispered. "Turn around." Amara turned slowly, her heart hammering so hard she thought it would burst through her chest. The man walked down the aisle toward her, and with each step, her world tilted further into madness. Tall, impossibly handsome in a black tailored suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Sharp cheekbones, cold eyes, hair styled perfectly. He moved like a predator, graceful and terrifying. But it was his face that made Amara's knees buckle. No, 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 no. This couldn't be happening. Kang Min-jun, student council president. The boy who'd made her life a living hell. The one who'd tripped her in the cafeteria, destroyed her art project the night before the competition, mocked her accent in front of the entire class until she'd cried. The one who'd smiled while she suffered. And now he stood at the altar, staring at her with those same cold, dark eyes. "Hello, Amara," he said softly, his voice deeper now, dangerous. "It's been a long time." The bouquet fell from her hands. He remembered. He knew exactly who she was. "You," she breathed. "This was you. You planned this." Min-jun's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Your father's debt was coincidence. Finding out the debtor's daughter was you, that was fate." "I won't do this," Amara said, backing away. "I won't marry you. You can kill me, but I won't." "They won't kill you," Min-jun interrupted, stepping closer. "They'll kill your mother first, make your father watch, then your brother. They'll save you for last, so you can live with the guilt. Is that what you want?" Amara's vision blurred with tears. "Why? Why me? What did I ever do to you?" "We'll discuss it after," Min-jun said, nodding to the priest. "Begin." The ceremony passed in a haze. Amara heard herself speaking the words, felt the ring slide onto her finger, cold and heavy as a shackle. When the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," Min-jun leaned in close, his lips barely brushing hers. "Welcome to your new life, wife," he whispered against her mouth. "I hope you remember how to obey." The reception was as empty as the ceremony. Just Amara and Min-jun in the back of another Mercedes, driving deeper into the hills. She sat as far from him as possible, her wedding dress feeling like a costume, her ring like a brand. "You're wondering why I did this," Min-jun said, staring out the window. "Why I went through the trouble." "I know why," Amara said bitterly. "Because you're a sadist who gets off on making people suffer. You proved that in high school." "High school," Min-jun repeated, his jaw tightening. "You still think about it." "Every day," Amara said, her voice breaking. "Every single day, I wondered what I did to make you hate me so much. Was it because I was black, African, foreign, poor? What was it, Min-jun? What made you decide I deserved to be your personal punching bag?" He turned to look at her then, his expression unreadable. "You want the truth?" "I deserve it, don't I? You've taken everything else." Min-jun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft, almost vulnerable. "You were everything I couldn't be. Genuine, kind, free. My father was building an empire, and I was his perfect heir, cold, controlled, no weaknesses. And then you showed up with your bright smile and your terrible Korean and your ridiculous optimism, and I hated you for it." "So you destroyed me," Amara said. "So I pushed you away," Min-jun corrected, "because feeling anything was dangerous, and you made me feel everything." Amara laughed, bitter and broken. "That's your excuse? You tortured me because you had feelings. Do you know how insane that sounds?" "I'm not making excuses," Min-jun said. "I'm explaining. There's a difference. And now? What's your explanation now? Why force me into this?" Min-jun's eyes went cold again, shutting down. "Because I can. Because your father owed me money, and I always collect my debts. 2 years, Amara. Play the dutiful wife, attend events on my arm, smile for the cameras, and when the contract expires, you walk away. Your family's debt cleared, and you never have to see me again." "I hate you," Amara whispered. "Good," Min-jun said. "Hate is easy. Hate keeps you sharp. Hold on to it." The mansion was obscene in its luxury. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork that probably cost millions. Amara's room was twice the size of her apartment, with a king-sized bed, a walk-in closet filled with designer clothes in her exact size, and a bathroom that looked like a spa, a gilded cage. "Dinner is at 7, Minjun said from the doorway. "Dress appropriately. We have guests." "I'm not hungry." "I don't care if you're hungry. You're my wife. You'll sit at my table and play your part. Or would you prefer I make a phone call to Lagos?" Amara's hands clenched into fists. Every time she thought about fighting back, he dangled her family over her head like a noose. "Fine." "Good girl," Minjun said, and closed the door. Amara lasted exactly 10 seconds before she started throwing things. Pillows, books, anything she could reach. She screamed into the silence until her throat was raw, until she collapsed on the bed and sobbed into the expensive sheets. This was her life now, trapped in a mansion with the boy who'd broken her once before. Only now he had the power to break her family, too. But as the tears dried, something else took root. Anger, white-hot and clarifying. Minjun thought he'd won. Thought he could control her with threats and money and his cruel words. He'd underestimated her once before, dismissed her as weak. He was about to learn how wrong he'd been. If she had to play his game for 2 years, she'd play it, but on her terms. And when those 2 years were up, she'd walk away with her head high and leave him with nothing. Dinner was a nightmare dressed in formal wear. 8 members of Minjun's inner circle, all men, all dangerous, sat around the massive dining table. They spoke in rapid Korean, switching to English only when addressing her directly. Amara sat at Minjun's right hand, smiling blandly while they assessed her like livestock. "So, boss, you finally settled down," one of them said, a man with a scar across his cheek. "Didn't think I'd see the day. What's so special about this one?" "She's obedient," Minjun said, not looking at Amara. "She knows her place." The men laughed, Amara's fork bent under her grip. "African, huh?" another said, leering. "Exotic. Must be exciting." "Careful," Minjun said, his voice dropping to something lethal. "That's my wife you're discussing." The room went silent. The man paled and mumbled an apology. Interesting. Minjun might treat her like property, but he wouldn't let anyone else disrespect her. Some kind of twisted possessiveness. After dinner, Minjun's second in command, a cold-eyed woman named Jiwoo, approached Amara in the hallway. "A word, Mrs. Beck." "I didn't choose that name," Amara said. "Nevertheless, it's yours now," Jiwoo said. "I'm here to prepare you. Tomorrow night, charity gala. Seoul's elite will be watching. You'll need to convince them this marriage is real." "And if I don't?" Jiwoo's smile was sharp as a knife. "Then they'll wonder what leverage he has over you. And once they know you're a weakness, they'll exploit it. Minjun has enemies who would love nothing more than to hurt him through you. So smile, Mrs. Beck. Smile like you mean it." The next 36 hours were brutal. Jiwoo drilled Amara relentlessly on Korean etiquette, proper bowing, how to address different ranks of people, which families were allies, and which were enemies. She learned that Minjun controlled the city's port operations, that his legitimate businesses were fronts for weapons smuggling, money laundering, and worse. She learned that his father had been murdered 3 years ago, and Minjun had taken control through a bloodbath that left 17 men dead. "He's not just dangerous," Jiwoo said. "He's Apex. The only reason he's not in prison is because half the police force is on his payroll. Remember that." The gala was held at Seoul's most prestigious hotel, the ballroom glittering with wealth and corruption. Amara wore a red dress that cost more than her education, Her hair professionally styled, makeup perfect. She looked like she belonged. She felt like a fraud. Min-jun appeared in a black tuxedo, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine. He offered his arm without a word. Amara took it, feeling the hard muscle beneath the expensive fabric. As they entered the ballroom, hundreds of eyes turned toward them. "Smile," Min-jun murmured. "Remember what's at stake." Amara smiled. She smiled so hard her face hurt. The night crawled by in a blur of introductions, false pleasantries, and thinly veiled threats disguised as conversation. Everyone wanted to know about Min-jun's mysterious bride, where they'd met, how long they'd known each other, whether it was a love match. "Oh, it was love at first sight," Min-jun said, his arm around Amara's waist, pulling her close. "The moment I saw her, I knew she was the one." Liar, Amara thought. But she leaned into him, playing her part. "He swept me off my feet." "How romantic," an older woman said, eyeing them suspiciously. "And your family, dear? Are they here?" "They're in Nigeria," Amara said smoothly. "They couldn't make the trip, unfortunately." "Pity," the woman said. "I would have loved to meet them." Translation: "I would have loved to investigate them." As the night wore on, Min-jun never left her side, his hand always on her lower back or holding hers. To everyone watching, they were the perfect couple. Behind the smiles, Amara felt like she was drowning. During a slow dance, Min-jun pulled her close, his breath warm against her ear. "You're doing well." "Don't patronize me," Amara said quietly. "I'm not. I'm impressed. You're stronger than I expected." "You mean as stronger than the girl you terrorized in high school?" Min-jun's grip tightened. "That girl couldn't have survived this world. This woman can." "You don't know anything about me." "I know you're terrified but won't show it. I know you hate me but need me. I know you're planning something, thinking you'll find a way out. You won't. But I admire the effort." Amara looked up at him, meeting those cold, dark eyes. 2 years, and then I'm gone." 2 years, Min-jun agreed. "If you survive them." 3 weeks into the marriage, Amara discovered the locked room on the 3rd floor. She'd been exploring the mansion, mapping out exits and guard rotations when she found it. Heavy oak door, electronic lock, no windows. She tried her keycard. Access denied. "Curiosity killed the cat, Mrs. Beck." Jiwoo's voice came from behind her. "That room is off limits." "What's in there?" "Nothing that concerns you. Come. Min-jun wants to see you in his office." Min-jun's office was all dark wood and leather, walls lined with books he probably never read. He sat behind his desk, reviewing documents, and didn't look up when she entered. "You wanted to see me?" Amara said. "Sit." She sat, irritated by the command but unwilling to fight over every little thing. "Pick your battles," she reminded herself. Min-jun finally looked up, studying her. "There's an event next week, a meeting with the Yamamoto family from Tokyo. They're considering a partnership. I need you there." "Why?" "I'm just set, dressing." "You're my wife. Your presence legitimizes me, makes me seem stable, trustworthy, less likely to start a war." "Heaven forbid you start a war," Amara said dryly. Min-jun's lips twitched, almost a smile. "There's that sharp tongue. I wondered when I'd see it again." "What's that supposed to mean?" "In high school, you took my abuse for months before you finally snapped. Called me a pathetic bully in front of the entire cafeteria. Do you remember?" Amara remembered. She'd been so angry, so tired of being afraid. "You got me suspended for 3 days for disrespecting a senior student." "I did," Min-jun said. "And then I went home and trashed my room. Broke everything I could reach. Why? Because you were right. I was pathetic. Am pathetic. The only difference is now I have power, so no one calls me on it. Amara stared at him. This was the first time he'd shown any hint of self-awareness, any crack in that icy exterior. Are you trying to apologize? No, Minjun said. Apologies are meaningless. I'm trying to explain why I'm the way I am, not excuse it. Explain it. I don't want explanations. I want out. Not an option. But I can offer you something else. Freedom within the cage. You want to work? Work. You want to go out? Go out. With gods. You want to see friends? See them. I won't keep you prisoner in this house, Amara. Just in this marriage. It was the first compromise he'd offered. Amara considered it carefully. Why? Because I'm not a monster, despite what you think. I'm a criminal. There's a difference. Is there? Minjun stood, walking around the desk to stand in front of her. Up close, she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight he carried. Yes. Monsters enjoy causing pain. I do what's necessary to survive and protect what's mine. You're mine now, for better or worse. I'd prefer you didn't hate every second of it. Too late for that. Then I'll settle for tolerance. Can you tolerate me for 2 years, Amara? She wanted to say no, wanted to scream that she'd never tolerate the man who'd made her life hell. But practical survival trumped pride. I'll tolerate you, but don't expect anything more. I won't, Minjun said softly. I learned not to expect things from you a long time ago. The Yamamoto meeting was held at a private restaurant, the kind where the menu had no prices, and the waiters moved like shadows. Amara sat beside Minjun, dressed in elegant black, playing the silent, supportive wife, while the men discussed business in Japanese and Korean. She understood both languages, a fact Minjun didn't know. He'd never asked about her skills. The deal was simple on the surface. Distribution rights for luxury goods coming through Tokyo's port, split 50-50. Underneath, Amara realized they were discussing weapons, military-grade hardware being smuggled from Russia through Japan into Korea. She kept her face blank, her hands folded in her lap. This was the world she'd married into. Blood and bullets, wrapped in expensive suits. Yamamoto Kenji, the family patriarch, turned his attention to her. Your wife is very quiet, Kang-san. Does she speak? When she has something worth saying, Minjun replied. And does she know about your business? She knows what she needs to know. Yamamoto smiled, predatory. I see. A decorative wife. How traditional. He said something in rapid Japanese to his men, and they laughed. He says you're pretty, but probably stupid, Amara said in perfect Japanese, her voice cutting through the laughter. That Minjun married you for your looks, not your brain. He's wondering if you're good in bed, since that's all you're probably useful for. The room went silent. Yamamoto's face darkened. Minjun's hand found hers under the table, squeezing hard. My apologies, Yamamoto-san, Amara continued, her smile sweet as poison. I should have mentioned I speak 7 languages, including Japanese. And while I appreciate your compliment about my appearance, I should clarify that I have 3 university degrees and worked as a senior translator before my marriage. Minjun married me for my mind. Everything else is just a bonus. She turned to Minjun, switching to Korean. Did I overstep, husband? Minjun's eyes gleamed with something that looked almost like pride. Not at all, wife. Please, continue. Yamamoto recovered quickly, laughing. I apologize, Mrs. Kang. I underestimated you. A mistake I won't repeat. See that you don't, Minjun said, his voice like steel. My wife is not to be insulted by anyone. Is that clear? Crystal, Yamamoto said. And just like that, the dynamic shifted. Amara wasn't just decoration anymore. She was a player. The deal went through. On the drive home, Minjun was quiet, his jaw tight. Amara waited for the explosion, the punishment for speaking out of turn. Instead, he started laughing. 7 languages, he said. 3 degrees. And you never mentioned this. You never asked. You assumed I was just some desperate girl that you could control. Clearly, I was wrong, Minjun said. He looked at her, really looked at her, seeing her perhaps for the first time. You're full of surprises, Amara Okonkwo. It's Amara Kang now, apparently. Does it bother you, taking my name? Everything about this bothers me, but that's the least of my problems. Minjun nodded slowly. For what it's worth, you were magnificent tonight. Yamamoto respects strength. You showed him you're not to be dismissed. That reflects well on both of us. I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. I'm tired of being underestimated. Then we have something in common, Minjun said quietly. My entire life, people have underestimated me. Thought I was just my father's son, riding his coattails. I built this empire from blood and ash to prove them wrong. Maybe you and I aren't so different after all. We're nothing alike, Amara said. You chose this life. I was forced into it. Was I? Minjun's voice was bitter. My father decided I'd take over when I was 5 years old. Trained me to fight, to kill, to be ruthless. I never had a choice either, Amara. We're both prisoners of circumstances we didn't choose. The only difference is, you admit it. The vulnerability in his voice caught her off guard. For a moment, just a moment, she saw past the monster to the man underneath. Broken, lonely, just as trapped as she was. Then the moment passed, and his mask slipped back into place. We're home. 2 months into the marriage, Amara's routine had settled into something almost bearable. She'd started working again, doing freelance translation remotely. Minjun had been true to his word about freedom within limits. She could go out with guards, see friends, live something resembling a normal life. Except she couldn't leave the country, couldn't talk about her marriage, and had to report her location at all times. But it was better than being a prisoner. She was in the library, working on a translation, when Jiwoo burst in. We have a problem. Hostile situation. Come with me. What's happening? Rival gang attack. They're hitting our warehouses. Minjun is already at the port. You need to be moved to the safe room. Amara's heart raced. Is he okay? Why do you care? Jiwoo asked, surprised. Good question. Why did she care? Because despite everything, despite the hate and the resentment, something had shifted. Minjun had kept his promises, had given her space, respected her boundaries, even defended her to his associates. He was still a criminal, still dangerous, but he wasn't the boy from high school anymore. I just want to make sure I'm still getting paid, Amara lied. Jiwoo didn't believe her, but didn't argue. They rushed through the mansion toward the panic room in the basement. Gunfire erupted outside. Close. Too close. Go! Jiwoo shoved her toward the reinforced door. Lock it from inside. Don't open it for anyone but Minjun or me. Amara stumbled into the safe room just as explosions rocked the mansion. The door slammed shut behind her, heavy bolts engaging automatically. She was alone in the soundproofed room. No windows, no phone signal. Just emergency supplies and the terrifying knowledge that outside, people were dying. Time lost meaning. She counted her heartbeats, trying to stay calm. 20 minutes? An hour? Forever? Then her phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Your husband is injured. bleeding. If you want him to live, tell me the security code for the east entrance. You have 2 minutes. Amara's hands shook. This was a test. Had to be. Min-jun's enemies trying to exploit his weakness. Her. But what if it wasn't? What if he really was hurt, dying while she hid in safety? She typed back, "How do I know you have him?" A photo came through. Min-jun on the ground, blood spreading across his white shirt, his face pale. He looked dead. Amara's vision blurred. No, she couldn't lose him. Not like this. Not when she'd just started to understand him. Another message. 1 minute. Code or corpse. Your choice. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She knew the code. Had memorized it weeks ago while mapping the mansion. She could save him. Just type 6 numbers and he'd live. Or it was a trap. And she'd doom everyone. 30 seconds. Amara closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. She thought about the boy who'd bullied her, the man who'd forced her into marriage, the person who'd shown her unexpected kindness. She thought about 2 years of freedom, about her family's safety, about the life she'd have after this nightmare ended. And she thought about a world without Min-jun in it. Her fingers moved. "Don't!" Jiwoo's voice crackled through the intercom. "It's a fake photo. Min-jun is fine. They're trying to break you. Don't give them the code." Amara deleted the numbers she'd typed, relief and horror crashing through her in equal measure. She'd almost done it, almost betrayed him. Because somewhere in the last 2 months, Min-jun had stopped being just her tormentor and had become something else, something complicated. The attack lasted another 30 minutes before Min-jun's forces regained control. When the door to the safe room finally opened, Min-jun stood there, covered in blood but very much alive. His eyes found hers immediately. "You okay?" he asked. "They sent me a photo," Amara said, her voice breaking. "Said you were dying. I almost gave them the code." Min-jun crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms. She should have pushed him away, should have maintained the distance. Instead, she collapsed against his chest and sobbed. "I know," he murmured into her hair. "Jiwoo told me. But you didn't. You held strong." "I wanted to save you," Amara admitted. "I don't even like you, but I wanted to save you. What's wrong with me?" Min-jun pulled back, cupping her face in his bloody hands. "Nothing's wrong with you. You're human. You're good. That's what I've always loved about you, Amara. Even when I was destroying you, you never stopped being kind, never stopped caring. I didn't deserve it then. I don't deserve it now." "Loved," Amara whispered. "You said loved." Min-jun's thumb brushed away her tears. "Past tense, present tense, every tense. I loved you in high school. Loved you enough that it terrified me. That's why I pushed you away so viciously. Because feeling anything was weakness, and I couldn't afford weakness. And now, having you here, in my home, in my life, even knowing you hate me, I can't stop feeling it." "You're insane," Amara said. "You're a criminal and a bully, and you ruined my life twice, and I should hate you forever." "You should," Min-jun agreed. "But I don't," Amara said, the words ripping out of her. "I did. I wanted to. But you kept being decent and complicated and human, and I don't know what I feel anymore. I just know that when I thought you were dead, something inside me broke." "I'm sorry," Min-jun said. "For high school, for forcing you into this marriage, for every cruel thing I've ever done. I'm sorry, and I know it's not enough, but it's all I have." "It's not enough," Amara said, "but it's a start." Min-jun kissed her then, desperate and clumsy, and nothing like the cold peck at their wedding. Amara kissed him back, tasting blood and smoke and something that might have been hope. When they broke apart, both were shaking. "I'm still angry with you," Amara said. "I know. I still think you're a monster. I know that too. But maybe," Amara said slowly, "maybe monsters can change. Maybe we both can." 2 years, Minjun said. "That was the deal. But if you want to stay longer, if you want to try to make this real, I'll spend every day of those 2 years proving I can be the man you deserve. And if you can't, if in 2 years I still want to leave, then I'll let you go," Minjun promised. "No threats, no leverage, clean break. But I'll try, Amara. God, I'll try so hard." The next 18 months were the strangest of Amara's life. Minjun kept his word, working to earn her trust, piece by piece. He took her to art galleries, remembering her old passion. He learned to cook Nigerian food, badly, making her laugh at his terrible jollof rice. He told her about his childhood, about his father's brutality, about the fear that had shaped him into something cold and hard. He wasn't perfect. He still ran a criminal empire, still made decisions that kept her up at night. But he was trying, and slowly, painfully, Amara found herself falling for the man he was becoming. They had their first real date 6 months in, a picnic in a private park, guards discreetly stationed around the perimeter. Minjun had made sandwiches himself, and they were terrible. "You're supposed to remove the crusts," Amara said, laughing. "What? Why? That's the best part. You're such a weirdo." "You're weirdo," Minjun said, then caught himself. "Sorry. I didn't mean to assume. I know we're still just playing pretend for the contract." "Are we, though?" Amara asked quietly. "Playing pretend? Because it hasn't felt like pretending for a while now." Minjun set down his sandwich, turning to face her fully. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that somewhere between hating you and understanding you, I fell in love with you. Real love. The kind that terrifies me. The kind I never wanted to feel for you. But you feel it anyway." Minjun's voice was raw with hope. "I feel it anyway, and I hate that I do, because you don't deserve it, and I don't deserve to be stuck loving someone who forced me into this. But here we are." Minjun kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. "I love you. I've loved you since you were 17, and too good for me. I'll love you when we're 70, and you've finally forgiven me for being an idiot. I'll love you through every day of the rest of our lives, if you'll let me." "The contract ends in 12 months, Amara reminded him. "What happens then?" "Then we write a new one. One where you're here because you want to be. Where we're partners, equals. Where you stay because you love me, not because you're forced to." "What about your enemies? The danger?" "I'm working on going legitimate. It'll take time, but I'm transitioning the business. For you, for us, for the life we could have." Amara wanted to believe him, wanted it so badly it hurt. "And if I can't trust you, if the past is too heavy, then I'll carry it for both of us until you can," Minjun said, "however long it takes." The final 6 months flew by. Minjun kept his promise, slowly divesting from illegal operations, using his wealth to build legitimate companies. It was dangerous work. His former associates didn't take kindly to his exit. There were more attacks, more close calls. But through it all, he protected her, chose her, loved her with an intensity that burned away the last of her doubts. On their 2-year anniversary, Amara woke to find Minjun sitting on the edge of the bed, holding 2 pieces of paper. One was their marriage contract, the other was divorce papers. "The contract ends today," he said quietly. "You're free, completely free. Your family's debt is cleared. You can walk away right now, and I'll never bother you again. Or... He set the divorce papers down, pulling out a small velvet box. Or you can stay. Marry me again. For real this time. No contracts, no threats. Just us choosing each other. Amara took the box with trembling hands, opening it to find a simple gold band, engraved with both their names, in Korean and English. You're giving me a choice. I should have given you one 2 years ago. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. So I'm asking, not demanding. Will you stay? Amara looked at the divorce papers, then at the ring, then at the man who'd broken her and rebuilt her and loved her through it all. She thought about the girl she'd been in high school, broken and afraid. She thought about the woman she'd become, strong and fierce and unafraid to love, even when it was complicated. I'll stay, she said, sliding the ring onto her finger next to the one he'd forced on her 2 years ago. But on my terms. I want to work. I want my independence. I want a partnership, not possession. Done, Minjun said immediately. Anything, everything. Just stay. And I want you to finish going legitimate, all the way. No more weapons deals, no more blood money. I won't raise our children in this world. Minjun's eyes widened. Children. Eventually. If we can make this work. If you can prove you're the man I think you're becoming. I'll prove it, Minjun promised, pulling her into his arms. Every single day for the rest of our lives. I'll prove I'm worthy of you. You'll never be worthy of me, Amara said, but she was smiling. But you can spend forever trying. They remarried a month later, this time with both their families present. Amara's mother cried through the entire ceremony, and her brother kept glaring at Minjun with protective suspicion. Minjun endured it all with grace, even when Amara's father pulled him aside for a very pointed conversation about respecting his daughter. If you hurt her again, her father said, debt or no debt, I will find a way to end you. I know, sir, Minjun said, and you'd be justified. The reception was everything their first wedding wasn't. Music, dancing, laughter. Friends from both their lives celebrating their union. Jiwoo got drunk and gave a rambling toast about how Minjun had been insufferable for 2 years, pining over a woman who wouldn't give him the time of day. But she broke him down, Jiwoo slurred, raising her glass. Made him human again. So here's to Amara, the only woman strong enough to tame the devil himself. I didn't tame him, Amara corrected, laughing. I just reminded him he had a heart. Same difference, Jiwoo said, and passed out on the table. During their first dance as a truly married couple, Minjun held Amara close, swaying to the soft music. Do you ever regret it? Staying? Every day, Amara admitted. But I also don't regret it. It's complicated. Like us. Exactly like us. We're a mess, Minjun. A beautiful, complicated mess. But we're our mess. I love you, Minjun said, kissing her temple. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for becoming someone worth a second chance, Amara replied. 5 years later, Amara stood in the third-floor room that had once been locked, now converted into a nursery. Her daughter, 3-year-old Zara, played with blocks on the floor, while her son, 1-year-old David, napped in his crib. Minjun had painted the walls himself, a soft yellow that caught the afternoon light. The room that had once held his darkest secrets, his weapons and his plans, now held his greatest treasures, their children, their future. Mama, look. Zara held up her tower of blocks. I builded it so high. You built it so high, Amara corrected gently, sitting down beside her. Good job, baby. Is Daddy coming home soon? Soon, he had a meeting. A legitimate meeting. Min-jun now ran a chain of successful restaurants and a tech startup. The transition had taken 3 years and cost him half his fortune, but he'd done it. He'd walked away from the violence and the crime, choosing their family over everything else. There were still days when his past caught up with them. Former enemies who held grudges, police investigations into his previous activities. But they faced it together, as partners. Footsteps on the stairs announced Min-jun's arrival. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie, his face lighting up at the sight of his family. "There are my favorite people." Zara launched herself at him, and he caught her easily, spinning her around. "Daddy, I missed you." "I missed you too, Princess. Were you good for Mama?" "So good. I builded a tower." "Built a tower," Min-jun corrected, catching Amara's amused look. "And I'm sure it was magnificent." He set Zara down and crossed to Amara, kissing her softly. "How was your day?" "Exhausting. I finished translating that medical journal article. David refused to nap until an hour ago, and Zara decided to paint the dog." "Paint the dog?" Min-jun looked alarmed. "Washable paint. The dog survived. Your daughter's artistic phase continues." "Our daughter," Min-jun corrected. "We share the blame equally." Amara laughed, leaning into him. "How was your meeting?" "Good. The investors loved the expansion proposal. We'll be opening 3 more locations next year." He paused, his expression becoming serious. "I also got a call from Detective Park. They're officially closing the investigation into my father's death. No charges. It's over, Amara. Really over." "Min-jun, that's wonderful," Amara said, understanding the weight of those words. The last thread connecting him to his criminal past, finally severed. "We're free," Min-jun said, his voice thick with emotion. "Our kids can grow up without that shadow hanging over them. They'll never have to know what I was." "They'll know who you are now," Amara said firmly. "A good father, a good husband, a good man who made mistakes, but chose to fix them." That night, after the children were asleep, Min-jun and Amara sat on their balcony, watching the Seoul skyline twinkle in the darkness. 7 years since that forced wedding. 7 years of pain and growth and love. "Do you ever think about that day?" Min-jun asked. "The wedding?" "Sometimes. Mostly I think about how terrified I was, how much I hated you. And now? Now I think about how far we've come, how you proved everyone wrong, including me. You said you'd spend forever proving you were worthy. You did it in 7 years." Min-jun smiled, taking her hand. "Only 7. I was planning on at least 50 more years of groveling." "Well, I won't stop you. A woman likes to be appreciated." "Appreciated?" Min-jun pulled her onto his lap. "Amara, you're the reason I'm alive, the reason I have a soul. You took a monster and loved him back into humanity. Appreciated doesn't even begin to cover it." "You were never a monster," Amara said softly. "You were just broken. We both were. We fixed each other." "Best investment I ever made," Min-jun joked. "Though technically, you cost me $500,000 and my entire criminal empire. And in return, you got me 2 kids and a legitimate life. Sounds like you got the better deal." "I absolutely did." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city below. Somewhere down there were people like they used to be. Broken, desperate, trapped. Amara had started a foundation to help immigrant families caught in debt traps, using Min-jun's money and her experience to save others from the fate she'd narrowly escaped. "I got an email from a girl today," Amara said. "Nigerian, like me. She's trapped in a forced marriage to pay off her father's debt. She asked for help. What did you tell her? I told her we'd get her out, that she didn't have to suffer alone, that there were people who understood and would fight for her. Minjun kissed the top of her head. You're amazing, you know that? I learned from experience, both the bad and the good. Speaking of which, Minjun said, I have something for you. He pulled out a small wrapped package. Amara opened it to find a leather-bound book, her old high school art portfolio, the one she thought had been destroyed. Every drawing, every painting carefully preserved. How did you... Amara's voice broke. I kept it. After I destroyed your competition piece, I felt so guilty that I kept everything else, stored it in my father's vault. I couldn't let it go, even then. Couldn't let you go. Amara flipped through the pages, seeing her younger self's dreams captured in pencil and paint. Minjun, this is incredible. I thought this was lost forever. Nothing's lost forever. Not if you're willing to fight for it. Amara set the portfolio aside and cupped his face in her hands. I love you. Even after everything. Because of everything, I love you. I love you too. Past, present, and future. In every timeline, every universe, I choose you. That's very romantic for a former crime lord. Former crime lord, current sap. It's what you've reduced me to. Amara laughed, kissing him deeply. 7 years, 2 kids, one complicated, beautiful, impossible love story. She'd been forced to marry a monster and discovered a man. He'd been given a prisoner and found his salvation. They weren't perfect. Their past would always carry scars. But they'd built something real from the ashes of coercion and cruelty. They'd chosen love when hate would have been easier. They'd chosen forgiveness when revenge would have been justified. And in choosing each other, again and again, they'd found home. Months turned into years. Zara started school, brilliant and artistic like her mother. David learned to walk, stubborn and determined like his father. Minjun's businesses thrived. Amara's foundation helped hundreds of families escape debt bondage. They bought a beach house, adopted a rescue dog, lived the life neither had dreamed possible. On their 10-year anniversary of that first forced wedding, they renewed their vows again, this time with their children, as flower girl and ring bearer. It had become their tradition, recommitting every few years, a reminder that love was a choice they made daily. Do you, Amara Okonkwo Kang, take this man to be your husband? The officiant asked. I do, Amara said, squeezing Minjun's hands, again and again and again. Do you, Kang Minjun, take this woman to be your wife? I do, Minjun said, his voice steady and sure, for every lifetime. They kissed while their children cheered and their families cried happy tears. It was perfect, imperfect, real. That night, lying in bed, Minjun traced patterns on Amara's shoulder. Do you think we would have found each other anyway? If not for the dead? I don't know, Amara admitted. Maybe. Maybe not. The universe has a weird sense of humor. I'm glad it does. Even if the path was painful, I'm glad it led here. Me too, Amara said, though I reserve the right to occasionally remind you that you're a terrible person who forced me into marriage. Please do. I never want to forget how lucky I am that you stayed. Lucky, Amara scoffed. You worked your butt off for this. Best work I've ever done. 15 years after that first wedding, Amara stood in front of a university lecture hall, addressing students about human trafficking and debt bondage. Minjun sat in the back row, listening to his wife speak with passion and authority about the systems that had once trapped her. When she finished, the students applauded. During the Q&A, one girl raised her hand. How did you survive? How did you not let it break you? Amara considered the question carefully. It did break me. Multiple times. But I learned that breaking isn't the end. It's an opportunity to rebuild yourself stronger. I survived because I refused to let my circumstances define me, and because I found someone who saw past my brokenness to the person I could become. After the lecture, Min-jun met her outside. That was beautiful. It was so honest, Amara corrected. I'm not going to pretend it was easy, or that love fixed everything. It didn't. We fixed ourselves, and then we fixed each other. Deep thoughts for a Tuesday afternoon. I'm full of deep thoughts. It's why you married me. One of many reasons, Min-jun agreed, taking her hand as they walked to the car. Dinner with the kids tonight? Yes, but Zara has soccer practice first, and David has his piano lesson. Normal family chaos. I love it. Liar. You hate waiting at soccer practice. I hate mosquitoes at soccer practice, but I love watching Zara play. There's a difference. Their life had become beautifully mundane. School pickups and grocery shopping and arguing about whose turn it was to do laundry. The ordinary magic of a family, built on extraordinary circumstances. 20 years after that gun pressed to Amara's temple, she sat in a cafe in Lagos, having coffee with her mother. Her children were in university now. Zara studying art in Paris, David studying music in New York. Min-jun was back in Seoul, managing his businesses. Are you happy, my daughter? Her mother asked. Amara thought about the question. 20 years. 2 decades of marriage to a man who'd once been her tormentor. They'd survived attacks, investigations, the challenges of raising children, the mundane struggles of long-term commitment. They'd fought and reconciled 1,000 times. They'd grown together and apart and together again. Yes, Mama, Amara said. I'm happy. It's not the life I planned, but it's the life I chose. He's good to you? He's everything to me. Not perfect, but perfect for me. He still drives me crazy sometimes, but I wouldn't change him. Her mother smiled, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. I'm glad. I was so worried when you were forced to marry him. I thought we'd destroyed your life. You saved my life, Amara corrected. Min-jun saved my life, not at first, but eventually. We saved each other. That night, video calling with Min-jun, Amara felt the familiar warmth spread through her chest. 20 years, and he still made her heart race. Miss me? Min-jun asked, his hair graying at the temples now, lines around his eyes from years of smiling. Desperately. How's Seoul? Lonely without you. Come home soon? 2 more days. I'm visiting the Foundation's new office tomorrow. Look at us. Old and successful and boring. Speak for yourself. I'm not old. You're 52, Amara. 52 and fabulous. Meanwhile, you're 54 and gray. Distinguished gray. Keep telling yourself that, old man. They talked for an hour about nothing and everything. The comfortable conversation of people who'd seen each other at their worst and best and chose to stay anyway. 25 years after that forced wedding, Amara and Min-jun sat on their beach house porch, watching the sunset. Their grandchildren played in the sand, Zara's twins and David's daughter, their laughter carrying on the wind. Can you believe it? Amara said. 1/4 century of marriage. Best 25 years of my life, Min-jun said, even counting the ones where you hated me. Especially those ones. They built character. They built something, Min-jun agreed. Not sure if it was character or just scar tissue. Amara laughed, the sound warm and free. Do you ever regret it? The way we started? Every day. Minjun said honestly. I regret forcing you. I regret the pain I caused. But I can't regret where we ended up. Does that make me selfish? Probably. But I'm selfish too, because I wouldn't change it either. This life, these children, these grandchildren, they all came from that terrible beginning, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. We're a mess, Minjun said. The best kind of mess, Amara agreed. As the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, they sat hand in hand, two broken people who'd somehow built something whole. Their story wasn't a fairy tale. It was messy and complicated and sometimes painful. But it was real. And in the end, real was better than perfect. If you enjoyed this story of redemption, second chances, and complicated love, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, telling us what you thought. Would you have given Minjun a second chance? Could you forgive someone who hurt you so deeply? Let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to like this video to help others find this story. We love reading your comments and appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to share your thoughts with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.